Sorry, Tom, are you there?
Yes, sir. We are live.
All right, awesome. I don't know if you were going to kind of get things started here. Looks like we still have a few more people joining as we're going here. My name is Charles Williams, founder and CEO of Buyside. Just going to give it a couple extra minutes here. It's going up pretty quickly here in terms of attendees as people straggle to the table here. I am sharing my screen, so hopefully everybody can see. We are also have questions available inside the chat bar. So if anybody has questions during the session, we have people standing by, such as Tom is on the line, who's our Director of Education, will be answering questions. So everybody's in mute mode right now, so we'll be able to answer those as we go. It's going pretty quick, up to about 80 attendees so far. So we're going to talk about today is manager training. I know everybody's pretty much have sat in the initial launch and the initial training of Buyside. This is primarily going to be for managers, office admins, and to help give a little bit of color in terms of how you can use this both in managing your agents, in tracking their usage. Also, in terms of hosting your weekly office meetings, we're going to give you a few tips. And then also using this in a recruiting retention presentation or opportunity. We've had actually quite a few managers tell us some good success stories of how they've used this. Outside of Howard Hanna, some of the brokers, I don't know if you guys can see me on the screen, but I've got a wall of our map. I know I'm breaking some rules in Pennsylvania by working out of the office, but hopefully nobody will tell on me. Of all of our clients across the country of how they're using this in recruiting. And this is a fantastic opportunity to do that recruiting and retaining, especially because somebody like Howard Hanna, like you guys have been around for 100 years basically, and going to be here for another 100 years. And so a lot of the smaller brokers are not that fortunate. And so there's a lot of good talent out there today. And this is a great opportunity to leverage the colors of Howard Hanna to get out there and pick up some good talent. So we're going to talk to you guys a little bit about that. And again, if you have any questions, we have people standing by. You can feel free to chat away in the box. Just a quick recap on Buyside in terms of leveraging Buyside as an opportunity to list to last. We talked a lot about that in the initial kickoff, but it's about leveraging all of the behavioral data or signals, if you will, throughout all the Howard Hanna tech stack. Look, Hobie and Kate and Dan and Kevin, they've all done a fantastic job of bringing a lot of different technology to the Howard Hanna family of companies. And it's through those technologies that a lot of consumers are interacting with it. And there's a lot of activities and signals. And that's what Buyside has been helping Howard Hanna do and helping the agents do, is pull all of those activities together and really use it in a way that just smaller brokers don't have the volume and don't have the ability to connect all those together. And it's empowering your agents to, number one, capture listing leads and seller leads. And this is a great time today to do that as well. When in a listing presentation, it integrates nicely with Moxie Present. And then thirdly is to match more sides. So think about the weekly office meeting on steroids. So we're going to go through those three use cases as well as with the manager hat on. So we're going to go through that. So again, the three use cases that I'm going to focus in. Yeah, I'm using PowerPoint. I've learned very early in my career that don't use PowerPoint unless you have a powerful point. So we're just going to stick to these three, and this will be my last slide. I'm just going to dive right into a live use case of how you can go through each of these three. The first one, we're going to talk about tracking usage. So I'm going to log in. Every manager is going to be able to see the activity inside of their own offices. So if you have multiple offices, you should have a drop down. I'll show you. But essentially, you're going to be able to see all the agents that have logged into the system, that have done certain activities. You can sort it. You can click and see different screens and different views of that. The second thing we're going to talk about today is how to use this in weekly office meetings. So what are the screens that you can click on, and how can this help you in a weekly office meeting? I know a lot of times you're scrambling for the last minute for topics to bring up, or you do the announcements. I have a new buyer, I have a new listing. It's a little tough to do that today, obviously, when except for Ohio. I know the governor has been on top of things and have let people do real estate, but not so in Pennsylvania anyway. So what are some things, how can you use Buyside to facilitate some of those weekly office meeting discussions in a virtual way? I'm going to talk a little bit about that. And then lastly, I'm going to follow up, finish up with recruiting and retention, and how, as an office manager, you can use Buyside and highlight certain aspects of it, and how you can really stand out and kind of open the eyes of that top recruit, or retain somebody, right? GCI in the door, or keep GCI from leaving your doors. It's a fantastic way to help use that and leverage that in those conversations. All right, so I'm glad I kind of saved this. I just saw we had another 20 folks join. So these are the three things we're going to talk about. First, I'm going to jump in and talk about the manager dashboard, and show you how you can use it as such. So I'm logged in as the wonderful Kate Lesueur, who manages 2 offices. This is her dashboard. So when she logs in as a manager, this should be her first view. She can switch to an agent view, and I encourage all managers to do that. Even if you don't have any listings or buyers, that gives you the perspective of what your agents are going through. And you've all probably sat in and you saw how the Buyside tool works and functions. And there are plenty of webinars set up for that and videos that you all can view. So I'm not going to go into the agent view today, other than using this from the perspective of a manager. So I'm logged in here as Kate. I've got 2 offices. You can see in this drop down, she's got the Pepper Pike office and the Shadyside office. So I'm looking at my Pepper Pike office. I can see from this dashboard what's going on inside of my office and how my agents are using the tool. What we do is I'm going to focus on, let's disregard the first tab, and I'll come back to that one. We've got valuation attempts. So a valuation attempt is essentially the leads and the activities that are happening on the homeowners pages for valuation attempts. So every time an agent shares their home valuation page, they're going to consumers can enter an address, and so 6 addresses have been entered amongst all the agents in the Pepper Pike office. So if I was Kate's manager, I would say, Kate, what's going on inside of your Pepper Pike office? Why are there only 6 valuation attempts from the agents using the tool? And Kate can then log in here and say, well, let's check this out. So let's look at all the activity on the home valuation pages. I could see that 6 addresses were entered. I could see how many requests for monthly subscriptions there were and how many inquiries to contact the agent. If Kate wanted to, she can generate a CSV and download this, and she can go through it and see which agents are doing what. But she could also change the date range, so she can go back in time here. This has only been for the last week, so Kate can come back to whoever asked her that and say, well, thank you, Bob, but that's only been for the last week. Let's check out my office since we launched the tool, and let's start from March 18th until the 21st of April. And so it's a different story. Since it's a month long, she's had 24 addresses entered amongst all of her agents' home valuation pages. And if Kate wants to, this is a daily view. She can look at a weekly view, or she can look at a monthly view, which may look a little bit different. You can see different trends here as you mouse over. So you can see what that activity is, and it just gives the manager a little bit more insight into how the tool is being used. If you scroll all the way down, you could also see who the agents are that had those valuation attempts. So again, if I'm Kate, I can say, wow, Jared Zach, great job. You've got 9 addresses entered. Can you tell me more about those 9 addresses, Jared? Jared may tell you as the office manager, hey, this has been great. In fact, yeah, you're seeing that there have been no inquiries online, but let me tell you, Kate, I had my cousin Sally run the address, and she didn't want to put her contact information, but she called me because she knows me, obviously, I'm her nephew. And she said, hey, Jared, I'm looking to put my home on the market. I saw that 3 valuations of what the buyers are looking for, and this is immediately I need to sell my home. Can you do it? And so Jared got a new listing, and having that conversation, having that transparency enabled Kate to find out a success story. And now Kate, as a manager, can circulate that success story. So all this information is at your fingertips. We're empowering the management team to go in here and log and see what their agents are doing here. You can see how many times Jared has logged in. You can see if Jared's added buyers, added listings, so on and so forth. So this is the valuation attempts, the home valuation piece. We also have how many logins have happened in the office, how many listing presentations have been run using the BMA. This does not include the Moxie Present number. This is just the BMAs that have been run independently. Again, and here's a view daily, weekly, or monthly. You can change it. So here's a daily chart. I know one manager inside of Howard Hanna, he looks at the trends and he sees how agents are using it on certain days or how consumers have a higher home valuation interest on Saturdays. So it's another way to get some insights to help your agents better understand the usage as well. So I hope this is helpful so far, just to kind of dive deeper. Agent to agent emails, you can see the activity. So what this means is when an agent gets a new listing, we will show that agent how many buyers are in the system. And if you recall from the training, they can just click that button to say, hey, here's my brand new listing. And it goes out to the 44 agents that have matching buyers, and vice versa. If somebody gets a new buyer, they say, hey, I've got a new buyer. And you may have the perfect listing for my buyer. So anytime those messages get sent, kind of like Match.com, where you send that first inbound interest, and then activity happens offline. But this at least allows you as a manager to track what kind of activity is happening in terms of your agents connecting with one another, and so you can see what that activity looks like and follow up. The last one I wanted to show you here on the manager dashboard was the activity score. So this specifically came out of managers asking us, how do I get a good idea of the health of my agents using the system? Like I can see, all right, there are 24 valuation attempts, this many listings added, this many buyers added, this many emails. How overall do I get? And so what we did is we weighted all of the activities. And if you scroll down to the bottom, there's the actual key that shows you what the points are. And so you get 1 point for viewing a buyer, for instance, where you get 50 points for sending an email message, 75 points for creating a listing presentation. If you add a 4-star buyer, so if you tell us that they're pre-qualified, when they're looking to move, you get 400 points. So we're awarding high points for adding a 4-star buyer. And a nice outtake is we have some managers run contests in their office, and they say, okay, over the next month, we're going to track to see who has the most level of activity in my office, and we're going to award whatever, a donation in this person's name, or a $100 car wash gift certificate, or whatever the case may be. We have one brokerage actually runs a contest among all offices. So they basically challenge the office managers, and they provide a pizza party or something of that nature to the entire office who has the highest activity score. So, let your imagination run. The main point is this is here to facilitate however you all currently run your office. You could also, like I said, generate a CSV. You'll have to click it twice, once to generate and 2 to download. And it'll download a file that then you could use to track the activity across your office in terms of the activities. So that's that piece. In terms of the manager dashboard, seeing all the different activities. And again, if I wanted to switch offices, I could choose the other office and I can run the same report across the Shadyside office. So Tom, just let me know if you see any questions that you want me to bring out live. I'm happy to address them. So let's go back to the PowerPoint here. So we just talked about tracking usage and using this as a manager dashboard. Excuse me. The next one I want to talk to you all about is using this in a weekly office meeting. I know a lot of times you'll look for different topics to talk about. One way is as a manager, if you go to my listings, typically, unless you're working an agent as well as a manager, you probably won't have any listings in there, like Kate, but you'll have your office's listings, and we'll show you this. So think of this just like that weekly office meeting, right? Where at the end of the meeting, usually it's at the end, you'll go through logistics, any upcoming events or whatever, and then you'll kind of open it up and say, hey, does anybody have a new listing, or does anybody have a new buyer? And people raise their hand and stand up and say, I have a new buyer. I'm not going to tell you their name, but here's what they're looking for. In this case, what we've done here is essentially virtualize that. So we're going to show you all of the listings in your primary office here, and we'll show you whether or not there's matching buyers. So for instance, here's 6330 House Street in Shadyside. There are 52 matching buyers. So now I can say, hey, whoever the listing agent is for this house street, I can click on it and find out who the listing agent is. It's Roz Neiman. Good old Roz. If Roz is on, hi Roz, an old friend from way back when. So on Howe Street, I can reach out to Roz as a manager now and say, hey Roz, there are 52 buyers that match your listing. Have you used Buyside to reach out to those 52 agents that have those buyers? So it's a great way to virtualize sort of that meeting instead of having an agent stand up, which they might, but you could already do the matching. Like I've seen these done live where an agent will stand up and say, I have a brand new listing, and they're entering it in a Buyside at the same time, and it'll show agents who have matching buyers, and that person was in the same room. Hey, Brett, it looks like you have a matching buyer that matches Roz's new listing. Have you guys even connected? So it's a great way to do that virtually. And if the new buyer or the new listing is not in the system, I can hear agent or managers already asking that question. Well, Chuck, that's great. But what if there's a new manager inside the system or a new listing inside that's not been added? You could add a listing here. Give me a second. Let me shut off my my chats here so you guys don't get inundated with this stuff here. Of course, Slack messed with me on this and changed it all up. Pause notifications. All right, so when you're in the system here, you could actually add, for instance, like a new buyer to the system. Somebody stands up and says, Roz stands up and says, I have a brand new buyer. But what I could do as a manager now, say Roz is on the road, I could actually add that buyer on behalf of Roz and assign it to Roz if I needed to. So Roz just said she had a buyer looking for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath in Shadyside, for instance. Whatever. I'm just doing this on a fly here. So if she was adding it, you could add it and assign it to Roz, and that way it goes right to her account, or an office admin can do the same thing as well. So it's a nice way as a manager, you're the only one that has this ability, or an office admin, to be able to add and assign it to any agent inside of your office. Makes their life a little bit easier. So that's a good way to use this in an office meeting. Another way, you could physically find buyers and find listings as well in the office meeting. So if an agent says, hey, there's nothing out there for my buyer, you could quickly come in here and search and see. So for instance, we're pulling in, I believe, like all the find it first listings and the coming soon listings. So you're able to come in here and search for those listings behind the scenes. So there's 154 listings, for instance, found within Kate's local area there. So it's another way to log in here and see that inventory. And that brings me to the third way to use this in terms of a recruiting and retention opportunity. So here's one story that I heard. This is actually in New York City metro area, where a manager was recruiting an agent in an area where the brokerage did not have an office actually set up. And so the manager said basically that, hey, am I at a disadvantage because we don't have offices set up in Westchester County? It was. So we don't have an office there. So if I'm going to pitch this new agent, it's going to be pretty tough for me. But I think that we have buyers looking in Westchester County, even that we don't have an office there. I believe that there are people in New York City that are moving outside the city and are moving to Westchester County. And so we're heavy in New York City. So I believe we have the buyers. So this would be pretty powerful if I can show that agent that we already have the buyers. So the minute they get that listing, they're going to be empowered because of our technology. And that's the way he used it to secure a top agent, where he initially thought he might be at a disadvantage because they didn't have an office presence. Now, that's probably a unique scenario, but if he was able to do that without having an office, imagine what y'all can do by having an office in that area. So let me show you one way to do that is if you come in here and you go to find buyers. This is the way I've been told that some managers have used this, is they'll show this heat map, which I know you all are familiar with on the home valuation page, but you have a little bit more control inside the application, where this looks awesome on a iPad as well. You can even go into full screen mode on an iPad, which looks really slick. But what you could do here is you can mouse over a certain polygon or an area here, and you can see a change in the upper right hand side of the screen here. Is you can see the number of buyers that match inside of that area. So for instance, say you're recruiting an agent in South Euclid area. You could say to that agent, hey, you're with, Joe's real estate brokerage. I think it's a fantastic opportunity for you to come over to Howard Hanna. Why? Because we already have buyers. So the minute you get that brand new listing in South Euclid, there's a pretty good chance you're probably going to still do your traditional marketing and spend money on featured listing, this and that. But before you even get started or give yourself a head start, we have the technology inside of Howard Hanna where we can go back 30, 60, 90 days and see what agents showed similar properties to your brand new listing. So we're going to get you a head start. And just to give you an example, I've logged into the system here, and I'm going to give you a quick tour of your system, but there's one thing I want to show you right now. Let's look at South Euclid. So if I click on that, it's going to recalibrate, and it's going to show you as that manager, hey, look, here are the buyers that are matching. Look at this. There's 771 buyers looking in zip code 44121. And you could filter this by different criteria if you wanted to get that specific. And that's not really the point. You're not looking to sell a listing right now and find buyers. The point is to really show this off and the power of working with Howard Hanna, that we've already got buyers looking in this area, and you can contact their agent. How powerful is that? So that's a way to show off the breadth of the technology and the breadth of the data, especially for listing agents that you're trying to recruit over, giving them a leg up or a head start. A lot of these brokerages don't have technology to talk to one another, but Howard Hanna does. So I think that's a huge advantage. And I've seen it. I've seen brokerages use this in that way. So I encourage you to do that. You could also give them a tour of the system, real light tour of the platform. So if you join Howard Hanna, one of the values, any other brokerage, you're going to have to pay for seller lead gen, anywhere from $100 a month. I've seen $250 a month. I've seen $999 a month that these agents and teams are buying off the shelf type of products that comes nowhere near to the feature set that Howard Hanna team has delivered to you, Hobie and Dan and Kate and Kevin and team. Every agent, by being part of Howard Hanna family of companies, is going to get, courtesy of Howard Hanna, a seller lead gen platform. So the minute you sign with us, you're going to get your own home valuation that is going to answer the two things homeowners care about. What's the value of my home, and do you have buyers for it? And so you're going to get a marketing suite. You're going to get your own branded page. You're going to get 100% of the leads that are generated off that page. What other broker is giving you that value just by joining our brand? And so that's a huge value right off the, I know for these agents are paying off the shelf. So it's a great savings and a great value for signing with Howard Hanna. So you could walk them through, especially today. I mean, this is a little sidebar topic, but in terms of retention, making sure your agents are aware of that. How many times you say hear an agent say, oh yeah, I'm leaving, I'm going to Keller Williams or whatever because they're giving me a CRM. What are you talking about? We have a CRM. We have Moxie Engage. Like a lot of it, the point is a lot of this is about awareness. And so this is a great way, especially today where people are locked inside their houses. Hey, the stock market has gone down 30%, but your home value has not. So check the value of your home today and let me know if I can answer any questions. We're seeing a lot of top agents do that. So if you can communicate that value in terms of retention effort, it's another great topic you could bring up in your weekly office meetings. But this is a great way to showcase one specific feature set, keep it simple, and talk about that to your top agents or any of those that you may think are on the fence. This is a great way to leverage that. And again, bring out the Howard Hanna brand. Howard Hanna is investing good times, bad times. Like we're not going anywhere. This is an example of the technology we just rolled out in a largely uncertain time. We're doubling down as Howard Hanna. We're going after the market. This is time to grab share. And that's something you can communicate to your existing agents and also in a retention environment, in a recruiting environment. I'm going to pause there. We're about a half hour in. Tom, are there some questions we can take on?
Just a couple. So we've had some that are talking about seeing some listings with buyers, and then when they click on them, they are not showing up inside the listing. And that's a great question. And if, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, that is a great question, Tom. So if I'll click, so again, you're logged in as the office manager, and you will see my office's listings. It's not your listings. So we're going to show you as the office manager the buyer counts that match. The listing agent themselves are going to be able to do something with that. So in this case, Roz's listing. So we're not showing the office manager those specific 52 buyers because you don't have any buyers that match as an office manager. So that's really the use case here. But what you can show is from that dashboard, you're going to be able to help Roz tell Roz that, hey, there are 52 buyers that match. So when Roz logs in and sees her listing, 6330 House Street, she will in fact see those 52 buyers matching because it's her listing. So that's why it's not your listing and you don't have any buyers, Kate, as the manager. That's why we're not showing you. If Kate did have a buyer that matched, it would show up there. But again, this is you sort of coming in as a manager to help facilitate the matching, not you as a user. So I hope that helps answer it. Tom, did you have something to add to that or say it more eloquently than I did?
No, that was perfect. We did have one other question that I think you might have an answer to, and that is how often, since all of this gets fed into Buyside, how often does that information come into Buyside?
Great question. So it depends on all the different data providers. So if we go back to the screen here, and I apologize, I don't have one specific for Howard Hanna, I should, but between Zillow and Spacio and Real Scout, we're pulling in all those buyer activities and buyers at different frequencies. It depends on those technology providers, how often their APIs are updated, whether it's nightly, hourly. I think the longest window is nightly. So it should be updated at least on a 24-hour basis. Just depends on the tech vendor that we're pulling the data in from. So I hope that answers that question.
Great, absolutely. And this next one is a question that we do get quite a lot. So maybe you have a great answer for it, and that is Buyside is being used by a few different brokerages. How are we different?
That's a fantastic question. It's one actually when we first did the rollout with Howard Hanna, I think I was in the Cleveland where a bunch of the managers were in. Funny enough, there was actually a manager from a competing broker, formerly with a competing broker, who joined Howard Hanna. And he very eloquently talked about the advantage. And it's what I like to say, it's not about exclusivity, it's about a different X, it's about execution. And he specifically said the amount of data that Howard Hanna brings to the table is far and above. I mean, Howard Hanna is the #1 privately independent real estate company in the country. And that's the huge advantage. If Howard Hanna was only in a position to be able to leverage all that data, they'd be way better than everyone else. And now you're in that position, right? Compared to other brokerages, you have Buyside that's been able to connect all of your different tech platforms and be able to leverage all those buying and selling signals all in one place. And he specifically said just before even launching, we were able to automate and pull in a lot of the data, and he logged in. And he said already, without the agents even touching the platform, there's more data in here than the other competing broker, and they have agents using their version of Buyside. So I think it's the size and the scale that Howard Hanna brings to the table that you've always known about, you've always been able to talk about, but now you're able to physically show it. And you're able to do like that find buyer screen I just showed you a minute ago that is very much less in terms of other brokers than it is at Howard Hanna. So this is really your ability to show off the size of Howard Hanna, #1. #2 is you're part of the leading RE network. I think is another strong value you're able to share as well, because not only are you part of Howard Hanna family of companies, but we're part of leading RE, which is a big global network, and we're going to be able to see any activity that's happening in your area, no matter what of the 565 brokerages, no matter where the activity is happening, we're going to pull that in and show that inside of the Howard Hanna's environment as well. So I think being part of those two big families of companies is very powerful that none can compete with, and now you could show that off with Buyside.
Thank you for that. We have one kudos that they wanted to share with us, and if I remember correctly, you have a story similar to this, Chuck, is that they used the buyer maps in order to do a price reduction, 2 different price reductions, and they were able to get that sold. Do you have any other stories or yes, that's wonderful. Do you have any other stories where you used this in order to get a price reduction and a listing was sold?
You're asking me personally? Yeah. So actually, we have an employee. Before she joined Buyside, her mother listed her childhood home. And let me see, Kate. I don't know, Kate. Do you have any listings? I don't know if you have listings where I can show this off. If not, I'll log in as Roz. I hope Roz doesn't mind. Let me log in just to show you what this use case. So Tom was mentioning, somebody just commented in the comments here, one of the managers that an agent was able to get 2 listings sold, it sounds like, where she was able or he was able to do a price reduction. I'm not going to show. All right, well, I'll wait for this to load because I don't want to show buyers' names. I just want to show listings here. All right, so let me show you one listing here. So there's nothing identifiable. So Raj shouldn't mind here that this is just her listing on 1341 Beechwood Boulevard in North Forbes, Pennsylvania. So what the listing agent can come in here and do is they can see the buyers by pricing tier. So you may feel like, or the homeowner may feel like, hey, I want to be priced at 1.4, but there's less buyers at 1.4 than there are at 1.2. So what agents are able to do is if they had 24 buyers already see the property or whatever, they could say, what if I decrease the price by $100,000? How many more buyers will be in the market for that type of home? So normally what they would do is they would do that price reduction. What does that do? As soon as you do that price reduction, well, shoot, you're going to have Coldwell Banker buyers come by and Keller Williams and blah, 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 you know, the riffraff, as we call it, right? All right, we can edit that out of the recording. So as those other agents come by, it's great. You're going to get the property sold. But hey, let's see if we can quickly see inside of Howard Hanna if there's matching buyers before announcing it. So that's one tip. The other tip is when you do these price reductions, it's great to communicate with the homeowner. So this employee at Buyside, her mother listed her childhood home, And the listing agent kept asking, we'll call her Sarah. So Sarah, I keep trying to talk to your mom. I keep trying to get her to lower her list price, but she's not listening to me. I tell her, look, everybody's seen your home, but she's not getting it. And she said, all right, listing agent, let me talk to my mom and let me see if I can get her to reduce her price for you. She said, all right, good luck. So they hung up the phone and Sarah logged in and pulled up the criteria for the home and showed her mom that, hey mom, there's only 15 buyers looking at the price that you want, and we've already had 15 showings that first week. What your agent is trying to communicate to you that there are 32 buyers at the price point she wants to list your home at. There's a good chance, mom, that those extra buyers have not even seen your listing because it's priced out of their safe search criteria. So these buyers are in the MLS, they're in Real Scout, they're seeing all the active properties that match that criteria, but yours is not being seen because it's outside the price range. So if we just reduced your home by an extra, whatever it was at the time, $25,000, it's now going to show up in front of 32 buyers. That's powerful, mom. You're cutting yourself off to the market by not being in that price range. So she hung up with her mom. The list agent called back an hour or two later. What did you tell your mom? She's like, what do you mean? She's like, she wants to do a price reduction. And that's the power of data. Like, it's not, I feel like you should be priced at this point. It's, here's what the data says. And that's a great way for a listing agent. Sounds like one manager's already had an agent do this twice and got the listing under contract, the 2 different listings. So this is a great way to use that as a visual to be able to see the buyers by pricing tier and to do the what if analysis right here. What if I change the price? And you could run this if it's, you're only going to show this obviously if it works well for your listing client, but that's a great way to use it, and it's being used by your agents today. Holy cow, there's a ton of questions now. This is good.
There's a couple more, yeah. Yeah, and that's a great point. And if you were in the training that went over the different tools that we have, the buy side and the buyer heat map, those are all research-based tools that help us tell that story, that pricing your listing right the first time is important. So if they didn't do that, then we can show them here, a little bit down the road, if they did overprice it, you know what, let's reduce it. You don't actually have to do that in the MLS in order to see how many more potential buyers there could be. You could just do it here, theoretically showing them that information already up front, which actually dovetails nicely into our next question, which is, if I want to show them this during a meeting, like you'd mentioned, this is one of those things that we can do during a meeting. Is there a way to enter like a dummy listing in order for us to show them, or how would you do that as a manager to show off listings and how to use this?
So right now, it was a corporate decision because there already is an existing platform to enter your coming soon listings that it is shut off here. So you cannot add a listing. Will that change in the future? I don't know. You'll have to talk to Dan and Kevin and team. However, what I would suggest is there is a trainer account you can talk to corporate about getting access to on our staging environment. But the easiest way is to have an agent raise their hand and say, why don't you come to the front of the room, or I'll give you, presenting access if you're using a Zoom, and have them log in and show it off. Somebody that has a listing. That's probably the easiest way to do that, just as I did. Just get permission ahead of time. Not like I did, and I'm probably going to get yelled at for using RAWs. So just make sure you get permission ahead of time.
I love it. Perfect. Okay, so next is on the pricing tiers. Can you give us what a non-verified buyer is, and where is that data coming from?
Right. Great question. So we are importing buyer profiles from all your different technologies, and the way we essentially call that a non-verified buyer, meaning, look, just because there's a search set up in Real Scout, a saved search, doesn't mean it's a buyer. It could be the agent checking out or prospecting certain areas. It could be a seller, right? You might set up your seller client with a saved search in Real Scout. You may set up your parents just checking out their own neighborhood. So regardless, they're viewed as, we'll term it as a buyer or searcher. But the value of Buyside is we're able to allow the buyer agent to then append to that and say, all right, look, buyer, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer Agent, here are the 15 buyers we pulled in through Real Scout and 2 through Spacio. Tell us whether or not they're real buyers. In other words, tell us if they're pre-qualified, tell us when they're looking to move, and tell us if they have any contingencies. And so that's just another step where we're able to show you non-verified buyers that may or may not be buyers. We're still going to show them all to you. And then we're going to show you the verified buyers that have a higher confidence level that they are, in fact, what you're looking for. So we're going to show you both of them, and then that way the agent can make the determination as a listing agent who you want to reach out to. So I hope that that's helpful in that use case.
Yeah, that was great. So the last question that I have on the list here is, when we were going over the graphs, somebody and the price reduction tool there, what's the best way to communicate that to a client, and can we email it to them?
Good question. So in the price reduction, this is not an emailable, if that's a word. If not, I just made it up. Call with Merriam-Webster now. So this is not emailable. However, if you really wanted to show it in this virtual world, I mean, obviously you could do a Zoom link and share it with them. In Ohio, since the gates have been opened, you can show this on your iPad. That's how I hear most often it gets displayed. Of course, you could do a screenshot or print this page if you wanted to. Personally, and what I've been told by other coaches inside the space, is that you don't want to do that. You don't want to email it to them. The point that what we like to say all the time is this system helps turn real estate brokers into knowledge brokers. And by sending it an email, you really miss the opportunity to have that conversation and come off as a knowledge broker. And by doing this live, that really helps the agent really position themselves. Let me talk to you more about these 32 buyers, where they come from. You know, Howard Hanna has many different technologies, but they all talk to one another. We have Moxie, we have Constellation, our website, we have Real Scout, we have Spacio. And so Howard Hanna, being a cutting edge brokerage, we're tying these all together. So having that conversation or talking about price, like Howard Hanna, we just don't feel a certain price. We do our homework. We're looking at the real-time supply and comparative listings, but we're also looking at the real-time demand of who's clicking, favoriting, sharing, saving what. So that type of conversation coming across as a knowledge broker. You could talk about the heat map, even intertwine that to the conversation. Like, all right, let's look at the Find Buyers heat map and let's see what the activity, why are certain areas red? Well, this area is red because Merck just opened up a new manufacturing facility or whatever the case may be. So lots of people are looking in Shaker Heights, or I guess, you know, there's a GE lighting plant in South Euclid, I believe. So that's why it's a highly concentrated area. So again, you know your market better than we do. All we're trying to do is give you the data. It's hard to argue with data. We're just giving you the data to back up the agent's conversations and really become that knowledge broker. And so that's why I would discourage from emailing it, and I would much prefer the agent have conversations with their homeowner to come off as a knowledge broker. So apologize, my responses are a little bit long-winded, but I also do want to make sure you have enough color to be able to, pun intended, I guess, with the heat map here, but enough color to be able to help coach and guide your agents.
Wonderful. Okay, so now I do see a handful of other questions in here. They look like they're support questions. And so instead of answering those out loud, we're going to have a support rep reach out directly to you in order to get those questions resolved. So if you do have any other questions, please type those into the chat box. Thank you all for being here so much. Now, we have been doing these webinars and getting people involved, and the only reason we're doing that is because we're also following the market as well. And a lot of the things that we're hearing is that the worst thing agents can do right now is nothing. So don't stop your marketing efforts. Use these tools that we have in order to get those new listings, especially when the economy is recovering. In fact, we read one this morning that was saying they're expecting it to bounce back just as fast as it went down. So we're hoping that that's going to be sooner rather than later. So giving these tools is such a powerful thing, and having that knowledge that we went over today is going to be a great first start. So Chuck, I think the last thing I'll ask you here before we wrap up, or if you want to have any parting thoughts, is as a manager here, what would be the first thing that we should tell our agents as we get them into Buyside? What's the first thing we want them to do?
To me, especially given the current environment, as you just spoke about, if you're talking to the agents, it's about the home valuation piece. Um, I, we had another brokerage that just launched, and they said we couldn't have launched Buyside at a more perfect time. And the reason is people are homeowners that were about to put their home on the market and then kind of pulled back, or people that did put their home on the market, they're not real sure what the market is. And so subscribing homeowners or inviting them to the home valuation piece is a great way for the agents to stay in touch with their clients as they're sort of on the fence right now. They, like I said earlier, the stock market might be down 30%, but your home value isn't. Check your home value today. Or, hey, my company just offered a free tool. Why don't you check it out and give me some feedback? Kind of take that nonchalant type of I want some feedback on this tool. So there's lots of different ways to do that. Now is a great time to do that, where there might not be a whole lot of listing presentations to be had. The BMA is gonna come pick back up, but getting the home valuation, subscribing your past clients, your past friends, your high school friends, your college friends, your peers at other brokerages even. Shoot, I've seen agents do that, and they say, hey, tell me more about the tool you got from Hanna. So it's a great way to do that, even for people you're recruiting. Set them up with the home valuation. So that's the easiest, quickest, lightest way to do it. Agents are at home, the homeowners are at home. The home value is the most relevant thing that you have as a connection between past clients. It's the easiest thing to do, to send out a link, to send it on social, or just invite. Like if you have their address and their email, you could auto subscribe them. It's so simple, and you're going to see the rewards immediately from doing those activities. Pay off now, but also pay off as the chains come off our doors. You're gonna be the ones that have that inventory. I call it Disney World at 9 a.m. Once the gates are opening, people are gonna rush in. There's definitely the pent up demand there, and those that have the listings are the ones that are gonna win. And the tools that Howard Hanna is providing you and your agents are phenomenal to be prepared just for that, to list to last. So that would be my parting words and my advice for something to hit the ground running right away.
Perfect way to end. All right. Thank you, everybody, for being here. We did record this session, so we will be sending that along in case you want to rewatch this and see some of the things that we can do with our agents. And I will leave you with this. We did talk about social a bit. We do have our own social channels. In fact, we have a Buyside community page called Buyside Insiders if you'd like to see tips and tricks, ask some questions, and share some success stories. Thanks again, and we will see you next time.
Take care. Be well, everyone.